Yeah, no, mine's a total blank. Mine's a total blank. Got nothing. Hi friends, welcome to R2-BD. My name is Joey.
I'm Jacob.
We are brothers. We like a Star Wars. And
this is a show that has no opening, where the opening is we have no opening.
And Star Wars, yeah. Yeah. We're talking about another book today. What did we do last time? I'm not forgetting already. Master and Apprentice.
Master and Apprentice.
Yeah. So it was my choice of book. You had your choice of book today.
Yes.
Tell the friends that we're speaking to what we're covering.
Today we're going to be talking about Star Wars: Dawn of the Jedi, Into the Void. Mm-hmm. And we only learned recently why it has a second title.
Yes. Dawn of the Jedi, Into the Void by Tim Levin. We've never done any of the other Dawn of the Jedi stuff from Legends. Now, actually, sorry, importantly, first off, you chose Legends book.
I chose a Legends book.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I certainly never expected that from you.
I chose this book strictly by the title, Dawn of the Jedi, mm-hmm. and this fairly evocative but simple cover art.
Yeah. Of course, we have the Essential Legends Collections versions of this, which is a really nice sort of like drawn cover of the main character, Lannery. Yeah, it's nice. Have you ever seen the original cover art?
No, I don't think I actually have.
I'll pull it up right now as we're trying to talk, and I probably should have had that ready beforehand.
That's okay. I could vamp for a hot second.
I
of course I looked at the basic description before going, we should do this. I saw the origins of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever this is, I'm here for the ride.
No, I'm sure, of course, also it's a concept that you were interested by because of the announcement of, who knows when it's happening, a movie called Dawn of the Jedi.
Yeah, Dawn of the Jedi. So I saw that. It caught my interest. Mm-hmm. I had seen this book like before when I would look up other things to pick for the podcast. Mm-hmm. And I would be like, maybe one day.
Yeah.
But then when, after, the announcement that this movie is definitely happening at the moment...
Mm-hmm. I doubt it will have anything to do with this
Oh,
book,
God,
obviously.
Yeah.
But
I was like, no, this is, it caught my interest. All the same.
From James Mangold, no less, which is just cool as hell. Okay, here's the original cover art. I'll probably have that up on the screen.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's nice.
This was also importantly, I guess beginning to jump into the conversation. We will be talking spoilers throughout. So if you haven't read the book, read the book. It's pretty good.
It's a pretty good book.
It's a good book.
It's a pretty late book in relation to the Disney buyout.
Yes, I was going to mention that. I'm trying to find... I had a note on it. I can't think of what it was. Yes. There were only 5 other Legends books that came out after this, which I found really interesting. I want to say, was Crucible out yet or not? Crucible's kind of famously the last chronological book in the Legends timeline.
Okay.
At the very least, the last one to feature Luke, Han, and Leia.
Okay. You definitely mentioned this to me before.
Yeah, I want to say it was called Crucible. It came around right around this time. Could have been before, slightly after. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but either way, this was sort of one of the last runs of Legends books, and
it's a pretty bold idea to come at the end. In retrospect, it's the end.
Yeah. Also importantly, as we found out, this is a tie-in to a comic book. It is still a good story that stands on its own, I think.
Mm-hmm. And after I learned this fact, there's a thing towards the end that I clocked going, that must be a comic event.
I did not catch that. I was like, yeah, you said, because you finished the book slightly before me. Shock of all shocks.
And, I know, right?
Seriously. And you're like, there's a thing towards the end that I was like, hey, that's gotta be a comic thing. And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about by the time I finished it.
Yeah. There was a thing towards the end, and I was like, that's gotta be a comic event. I looked it up really briefly. Mm-hmm. It was.
Yeah. We would like to cover the comics at some point. We were looking into it. There's an Epic collection. I love the Marvel Epic collections. I really do. But sometimes some of them are out of print. This one in particular, the Tales of the Jedi Volume 1, which collects all of the Dawn of the Jedi comics. There were only ever 16 issues altogether.
Yeah. It's a nice, tight run, all things considered.
Yeah, it's 3 5-issue miniseries and a one-shot, I think.
That sounds right, based off of what I looked up to understand. When I looked it up, that sounds right, because I just wanted to know if I was right.
Yeah. But yeah, so unfortunately, the Epic collection that collects it all is very out of print. I think the cheapest I've ever seen it online is $150, and
that's just...
So if anyone wants to help us out in getting this Epic collection one day, be sure to go to patreon.com/BloodHound Studios and give us some money, please, because I would love to read this book.
I would love to understand the broader context that this story takes place in.
Yeah. I'd love to cover it on the show one day. But alas, and of course you get the digital copy, but I want the actual thing.
Yeah, I'd rather have the physical book to see and hold.
What's really cool also for me as someone just barely getting into Dawn of the Jedi as an idea, is that most of the comics, if not all of the comics, I'm not sure exactly how much he did, it was most of it at least, were written by John Ostrander. He didn't write this book, but he was the writer of almost all of his comics. I think possibly all of them.
Possibly, but the point seems to be he seems to be the architect of this era.
Yeah. Now, I love John Ostrander from my very earliest comic book reading days. One of the very first comic series that I ever decided to collect was the original Suicide Squad run by John Ostrander. And the man's fucking brilliant. I love him. He really is a great writer. And what's really cool, actually, is although the Essential Legends Collection book reprint does not include... Sorry, I should preface. The original release of this book had an extra short story in there called Eruption by John Ostrander.
Yes.
The reprint of the book in the Essential Legends Collection does not have it. However, the audiobook of the Essential Legends Collection of this book does include the extra story Eruption by John Ostrander, and that's very strange.
That is very strange.
Either way, we did listen to the audiobook.
We listened to the audiobook, so we did hear Eruption. My favorite part about the audiobook, it doesn't say, like, Eruption as its chapter title. Mm-hmm. In the audiobook, it is credited as end credits.
Yeah, which is usually what you do when, like, you've been listening to an audible presentation of Dawn of the Jedi, Into the Void by Tim Levin, or whatever. Yeah. But no, it's very much its own thing. It's in the end credit section. It's nice. It's a good short little story.
Yeah.
I would love to read the comics. It seems interesting to me because this was all happening in the final few years of Star Wars Legends before the Disney buyout. Or literally during the Disney buyout.
Yeah, during the Disney buyout. Like, this would have...
Because they bought them in 2012.
This would have been, like, planned.
And this book came out in 2013.
Yeah, this would have been planned during that phase. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. And so the comics started coming out in 2012. And I can imagine there was almost this maybe High Republic-esque publishing push that they were kind of going for. Like, there was a book, there were a bunch of comics, and they did it for 2 years straight, and then things got cut off. And I wonder if there were a lot more, like, bigger plans for this completely unexplored area of Star Wars history.
Yeah, there's sort of prehistory. Like, as anyone who reads a lot of Star Wars, or knows how Star Wars as Star Wars' timeline goes, it's always, like, before the Battle of Yavin, generally.
Yeah.
This book operates on Thor Your Arrival.
Thor, yes.
Thor Your Arrival.
Thor Your Arrival, which is really interesting. Because you did some looking into this, what the Thor Your are. They're essentially the beings that brought the Force to our galaxy, it seems.
My understanding is they are the Thor-Yor. Yes, I'm saying that correctly.
Thor-Yor.
Thor-Yor arrive. The
Thor-Yor.
Thor-Yor.
Thor-Yor. There's no R in
Thor-Yor.
Yes.
The Thor-Yor seem to represent more literally the ships that are on the cover, which are like the pyramid ships.
Pyramid things. Yeah,
they seem to be literally the ships. Mm-hmm. And the original sentient beings that were in them.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you looked into this and you described that to me, I was like, wait a second, that's just Mortis.
That is just Mortis.
That's just Mortis.
Yes!
You got the big-ass pyramid in space that Anakin, Ahsoka, and Obi-Wan go through. And wow, they meet ancient Force gods inside there. And, so interestingly, the Mortis arc in Clone Wars happens, it was done in, like, 2010, 2011?
2011.
Probably made in 2010. I think released in 2011.
That sounds right.
Either way, I don't know. Was John Ostrander a huge Clone Wars fan? I was like, I gotta do something with that, man.
This is one of two things happened. This is either a massive goddamn coincidence.
Mm-hmm. It's not. There's no.
Or, like, George Lucas, probably, because we know these ideas came from him, from Mortis. Uh-huh. We know those ideas were his ideas. Uh-huh. He probably came down and was like, I want a book with this really basic premise as the starting point, but that's not what the book's about.
No, Lucas didn't want a book. Lucas hated the expanded universe. Hated it. The closest I think we can apply any sort of George Lucas ideology onto this is that he came up with the whole pyramid thing and maybe the Thor-Yor, for Mortis, and then Ostrander sort of piggybacked off of that.
And I did point out to you, like, when we were both, like, middle of the book, and it occurred to me, what are the Thor-Yor, and I'm like, oh, this is, like, when you pointed out the Mortis connection, and I was like, wait a minute, what probably happened is, the pyramid ship was a cool idea, Force beings taking Force sensitives to like a part of the galaxy where that could just be cultivated, like in like isolation, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the Mortis gods weren't locked in.
Yeah.
As a concept.
Yeah, definitely.
Because
that was more a development in Rebels.
Yeah, because the Jedi seem to worship two Force gods that represent, one represents light, one represents light, one represents the dark. And they find a balance between them. Like, they can use the dark side of the Force without going too far, theoretically.
Yeah. Well, what is interesting about exploring this sort of time period in Legends is that, like, there was a time when light and dark kind of belonged together, and there was a time when Jedi had a better understanding of what balance actually means. We see the Jedi in the prequel era, and we see, what is rightfully in the Disney era called the Fall of the Jedi, or Downfall of the Jedi.
It's one of those,
something like that. Either way, it's listed as that, and it's because of the Jedi's ignorance. Because you get the Jedi in the prequel era, and they're like, no, balance means extinguish the dark to them. Which is stupid.
Have no inkling of the dark in you at all.
Yeah. When balance actually means balance for both.
And
which actually also is. I don't want to get on my I like Rise of Skywalker thing again, but that's what the ending of Rise of Skywalker is. Rey isn't solely Jedi. That is the point. But you have this here. We have the Jedi, as they are called. That's JE''DAII. Incredibly fantasy, very very fantasy of Ostrander and Levin, which is really interesting. But we have the Jedi. They have a very different belief system. Because this is also an order that, despite the fact that we're supposedly going back to the very beginnings of the existence of the Jedi,
we're about 10,000 years into it.
Yeah, we're 10,000 years after we discovered the Force, essentially, and so we're still even not really at the very beginning. We're just at the earliest point when we can recognize the Jedi as an organized religion, essentially.
Essentially, at least that's the vibe I picked up on.
Yeah. Which again is just utterly fascinating.
And what I like about this version of the Jedi Order is they have families because they're a community all on one planet, Tython.
Yeah.
And they're a community, and all of the Thoyors, there's 8 of them. They all are somewhere on this planet, and they each teach a different school of the Force. We only see a couple in the book.
Yeah.
We see, science, arts, and fighting.
Something like that. Yeah, all part of the Descent. That's, the ancient Jedi rite called the Descent. That Dale has taken on. Or tried to take on.
Lannery takes on.
Yeah. But those sort of like 8 Thoyor, that idea, and that acceptance of all the sides of the Force, it just continues to, I think, perpetuate that idea of, the balance in the Force is all sides of it, It is understanding. And we kind of see almost the very beginnings of this idea of pushing more towards the light and extinguishing the dark in the decisions that Lannery has to make in the end. On that, of course, I'd like to talk about our main character, Lannery Brock.
We've gone this long without mentioning any particular characters.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing also. I think the book as a whole is a lot about ideologies. It's a lot about larger ideas. In that way, it's very fantasy. I wrote it.
Yeah, it's kind of Star Wars in its most fantasy feeling.
Yeah, and of course, we're not being especially original when we say that. That it's been pointed out by a great many that Star Wars isn't really like true sci-fi. Star Wars is essentially fantasy with a sci-fi flavor.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But this, is taking us literally back to a time when Star Wars was swords, and instead of lightsabers, like it feels like a fantasy novel in that regard, and I find that really interesting. But we have Lannery, we have Lannery Brock, who is a Jedi, a
Jedi Ranger.
Yes. I do really love, I don't know if this is in the original publishing of the book, but I did like, in the republish of the book, there's a dramatist personae at the start. That sort of lists our characters, and you called out when you started it, because you started the book before me.
Yes, I did.
That it kind of sounds like a D&D party. So some of our things here, of course, we have Lannery Brock, Jedi Ranger, human female. We have Trisana, a rogue, a Twi'lek male.
A Twi'lek male rogue.
Twi'lek male rogue. They could just kind of sound like D&D classes, which I find really interesting.
Not helping the fantasy allegations.
Yeah, really not helping the fantasy allegations. But it is cool. It's a cool idea, and it helps in an era that can feel so alien and unfamiliar. I feel like I spent a lot of the early portions of this book really just kind of grasping the language being used.
Yeah.
It is a good way to really tell the reader, like, okay, there are if you know nothing else, know this person's profession, know what this person does. That way, you don't have to worry so much about understanding the character as so much as you can understand the world, which I think is rather smart. Yes,
it is a smart way to build this book because it's telling the reader, hey, you familiar with the Star Wars universe? Forget it.
Yeah. Really, really interesting stuff. But we have Lannery and her. A lot of the book revolves around her and her relationship with her brother, Dalian Brock.
I think every chapter has a bit of that background.
Yes, yeah. Almost every chapter has. I think pretty much every chapter has a flashback of some kind, going back to like
of their great journey.
Yes, going on this descent, and seeing how Lannery and Dale sort of drifted apart over time. Dale, we sort of learned, like, they tried to train him at first, but he kind of grew to hate the Jedi and hate their ways.
He was almost like if you took the concept of someone who knows the Force is real, because it is objectively real, obviously.
Yeah.
He feels it. Like, Lannery tries to, like, insert thoughts into his head, and he's always like, stop doing that.
Yeah.
But he is convinced it is the most restricting thing in the galaxy.
Which, in a way, once again, going back to that prequel ideology, he's kind of correct and kind of way ahead of his time by thousands of years. And yeah, it's just like understanding that, like, like, it is not so much the Force that is restrictive. It is the Jedi Order.
It is the Jedi Order.
It is organized religion, essentially. Also, once again, like, so I think we can find some parallels there in some of the themes that the High Republic deals with as well.
Yeah, I made some of those as well just to myself. I thought it was really interesting to see some of these ideas echoed. Mm-hmm. But I'm seeing the echo in reverse, so to speak.
Yeah. That said, despite a lot of the things that I did like, I did find sometimes the book does kind of expect you to be reading the comics at the time, because I expect that at the time, if you were into Star Wars, the expanded universe, that you were like reading a lot of things that were coming out. Actually, the books, the comics, kind of everything.
That just feels like a reasonable expectation.
So there were definitely some moments when, like, Levin does just kind of get carried away in, like, in telling the story that he doesn't quite bother with, like, explaining certain things to the reader, that I'm like, okay, maybe that could have done with a little bit more explaining. But it was like that's just part of, like, me personally not having done the comics and trying to going into this book being like, okay, I need to spend a lot of the early portions here just understanding the world.
I feel like that's true, especially with the world building, because looking into the comics very briefly to, like I said, to ensure I correctly called the thing towards the end, I learned that the first issue of the Dawn of the Jedi comic is mostly the background to how the Thoyor arrived in the Tython system, and, like, what is the background to this 10,000 years, like, relative to this book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so the expectation probably is if you're reading this book, you're probably into the comic, so you're going to know this background.
Yeah.
I imagine.
Hold up, there's a Legends timeline they include in here.
There is, yes.
This is meant to be, 25,000 years before A New Hope. So yeah, we're way off, obviously. That's 25,000 in addition to the 10,000 before that. So 35. New Hope is 30. Sorry, actually, it specifically says 37,000 years before A New Hope.
Whew.
Yeah. So, we have a lot of, we have ways to go. We have a lot to explain. I do also want to cover some of these Old Republic books someday, by the way.
Yes,
also, I'd like to finally play Knights of the Old Republic, because I've never done that before. I think that would be nice to do.
Could be fun time, yeah.
Indeed. All that said, there's a lot of history and a lot to explain, and I imagine, the comics do a good job of explaining that, because John Ostrader's a fucking king, and I love that guy.
This book doesn't necessarily concern itself with all that history.
Yeah.
It wants to get some of the basic world building out of the way, learn some of the new language we as the audience are going to need to understand.
Yeah.
And then kind of moves on.
Yeah. But on the world building, this book's want to specifically focus in on Tython as a system. I think is very smart. It is, like, the key place that we are focusing on throughout the entire book.
It's the only system. There's 11 planets in this system. Again, I had to look this up.
Yeah.
There's 11 planets in this one system, and they've never left it since arriving 10,000 years ago.
Yeah. And, like, that's...
Which is kind of a key factor in Dale's storyline.
Yes, absolutely. We have... we have, like... Typhon's relation to the rest of the galaxy, though, as well, in that, like, the rest is kind of wild space, and it's all still out there somewhere.
Yeah, like, the rest of the galaxy is still existing.
Mm-hmm.
It is still having its own thing happen, but as far as, like, storytelling purposes are concerned, it's here. We focus here.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, it's kind of this... It is one of the things that's really interesting, because, again, 25,000 years later, we have the Republic, and we have... Well, I mean... We have the prequel era Republic, at least.
Yeah, prequel era Republic.
And we have that relationship to the rest of the galaxy and how, if nothing else, even if you're not part of the Republic, you still are being affected by the Republic.
This is also an era without hyperspace.
Yeah.
Just to get from within planet to planet to the system, it takes days.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Days.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, really, really interesting stuff. But getting back on Lannery and Dale for a second, we learn through like these flashbacks that Dale is like supposedly dead. He is thought to be dead.
Yeah, he's thought to be dead. His clothes and blood are found in what is dubbed the Old City.
Yeah, and eventually the Jedi figure out that Dale is still alive, and in fact he is trying to start some shit, as it were. He is up to something. We don't quite know what yet. That is what we're trying to like figure out throughout the novel. Which is why Lannery's flashbacks are so important, like just trying to figure out like his goals and like put together what Dale actually does believe in. Which is essentially at the end of the day is chaos.
Yeah, he believes in chaos and very specifically getting the hell out of Tython.
Yeah, trying to like find another area of space and trying to create this sort of hyperspace rift. Sort of like the first hyperspace rift.
Yeah, he wants to create a hyperspace. He believes there's a hyperspace gate. Mm-hmm. And that he could use that to go to where his ancestors are from. Because he believes, as he does outright state, that he feels as if he was essentially kidnapped from a different path.
Yeah, totally. Really, really interesting stuff. And I like that idea. And I don't think... I think I initially thought when it was first revealed that like Dale's up to some shit by the other Jedi, that we were going towards some Sith shit.
Yeah, we were gonna like have like a hard divide in light and dark kind of situation.
Yeah, but because the light and the dark is so united, essentially, in this version of the Jedi, we have Lannery, we have Dale and Lannery's relationship, which is more that Dale just rejects the Force altogether. And and is not leaning towards the dark or anything. And I like that idea as well. Very cool stuff. We have other characters in this book as well, but realistically, Lannery and Dale are like the stars of it all.
There's also Tree.
It's Tree. Tree is the closest we get to like if there's like a third main character of this, it's Tree. Because Tree is the guy that hangs out with Lannery the entire time. I like Tree well enough. He's that rogue character. He's a Twi'lek.
Yeah. He has an interesting mystery for like half the book of his mind is unreadable in some capacity. Mm-hmm. Because, as is said like halfway through the bookish, his mystery is revealed that Lannery's primary Jedi master has done some like genetics shit with Tree's brain to make him unreadable. Yeah. From like Jedi mind tricks and the like.
Mm-hmm. He's a fine enough character. I'll say like pretty much anyone that wasn't Lannery or Dale, I think I had enough time to like get especially close to them.
Everyone I understood who Tree was, but outside of Tree, I can't really tell you what else was happening with the characters.
There was like Dan Powell. Dan Powell was like maybe the next one, I would say, because Dan Powell was like the one sort of giving Lannery orders the whole time.
Yeah, that's the primary Jedi master I'm referring to.
Yeah. And like that's interesting enough. Unlike the rest of the Jedi Order, though, the Jedi Order, it's really just an emphasis thing. You're still saying Jedi.
Jedi. You're just Jedi.
Like Jedi instead of Jedi. It's stupid, really.
It's more effective on the page when you can literally see it spelled differently.
Yeah. That was just a reminder. That's JE'Daii.
Very Star Wars.
Very fantasy.
Very fantasy.
Very fantasy. Just throw an apostrophe in there somewhere, and that'll make it fantasy. I'm guilty of it myself. I've read D&D. But on the rest of the Jedi Order, I did have a note here about the Jedi Code, which is brought up at one point.
Yes, it's brought up a couple times, but yeah.
But like I wrote one particular note about it down. Maybe it's because also the Jedi Code has been drilled into my brain thanks to the High Republic stuff.
God, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I know what the code should sound like. And then there was just one particular part that I wrote down, the old Jedi code saying, there is no fear, there is power. Like, fucking what, you guys? What?
There is power.
You want to say that again? Like,
there is no fear, there is power.
There's power. Yeah, kind of scary.
Kind of scary. This is also a Jedi Order that doesn't seem to have a lot of qualms about decapitating people.
Oh, no. I don't think the Jedi do either. But it is, for the Jedi, it's about, your reason for killing, rather than the Jedi who are just like, oh cool, we have this power, we're gonna fucking use it, and that I think is where, if the Jedi are blinded by their relation between light and dark, the Jedi are blinded by not so much the division between light and dark, but how they use the light and dark, and how that power is utilized on those that don't harness it.
I also do like that within this 11 planet system, we have a pretty wide range of what the wider galaxy, like in later Star Wars, thinks. Mm-hmm. It's like a microcosm of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Because there's the one planet, begin with the N, can't think of it now off the top of my head.
Oh.
Was it Nox or something like that?
I didn't write it down.
But there's this one planet that like really hates the Jedi. Mm-hmm. Like the planet as a whole is very much anti-Jedi.
Yeah.
Due to some war. In Lannery's lifetime.
Yeah.
That her parents fought in.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's other planets that are like, yes, Jedi, you are like awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just really fascinating that in this one system we have a like a microcosm of what the galaxy at large will look like.
Yeah, totally.
It also shows that the Jedi, as a religious organization, they do view themselves as partially above everything else.
Oh, definitely.
And that's crazy to picture. Just in one little system, they already accomplished this big head thing they got going on.
Oh yeah. Oh, totally. Don't know why I'm yawning. But yeah, no, it is an interesting idea, and I'm just going through a couple other notes that I think are like unrelated to a lot of the things we're talking about, just because like I'm not really gonna have another chance to bring them up.
Oh yeah, sure.
I wrote down the bit about the Nogri assassin. Basically, there aren't a lot of like species to recognize throughout this. There are humans, there are Twi'leks,
Wookiees. There's a cat one I think I recognize from somewhere else in Star Wars. What are the Cathars?
Oh yes. Where are they from?
I can't picture where, but I know I recognize the name from somewhere.
But also, yeah, the Nogri being here is interesting because once again, it's just Legends. Loved Timothy Zahn. Loved this man. I do too, but they loved this man.
It does occur to me that it's really funny that all of these various, like, people groups, mm-hmm. they were all taken from, like, their homeworlds.
Yeah.
And brought here because they had force abilities.
Yeah.
So, like, all of these people are pretty far removed, culturally, from their home planets.
Yeah, totally.
Which is even funnier when the Nogri are known for, like, being assassins. Like, that is apparently just true.
Oh, yeah. Also, on species here, and another note that it won't really come up anywhere else, I always just have to remind myself that the Sith were once a species. Like, they're, like, the order of the Sith was, like, created from the Sith species.
Yeah, from the Sith.
Yeah, Sith is like the name of just a group of people. And I think that's still canon. I'm pretty sure.
I think that's still canon.
I'm pretty sure that's still canon. If not, it's a cool idea and it should be canon. Because I kind of like that. It's just how that the workings of an entire species got kind of perverted into this.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea. But anything else that isn't relevant to... I think all my other things are either like Lannery or Dale related. Oh god, I'm going to jump ahead because I love this. I wrote down this note here. Alchemy and flesh. Lannery's whole thing towards the end. Holy fuck.
The alchemy of flesh.
Yes.
Horrifying concept.
Yeah. There's kind of some body horror towards the end of this book, which is super cool. Super down for. Yeah.
Like, I don't even want to picture what Lannery has an experiment going like that. She mentions in like the first chapter that it's in like a back room in her ship. Mm-hmm. It is... By the end of the book, it is revealed that is just a little glob of flesh with an eyeball that cannot see.
Oh god, it's good shit.
And it's all made from like her skin arm, like her arm skin, and it is like, ugh.
Jedi had to find shit to do, man. Just shit in their spare time.
It's horrifying.
Horrifying indeed. Of course, the book does eventually sort of like come to a head about Lannery and Dale sort of like being reunited. I did like the bit when Lannery found Dale's diaries essentially, and like was once again just really getting into his head and realizing just how fucked up her brother was. But also like in a way, Dale is a really interesting character because the book is all from Lannery's perspective, and so we're seeing Dale the way that Lannery sees him. Yes. But Dale, to me, I think, it kind of at least has the right idea. Like, no, there's more galaxy out there. There's more to explore. Yeah. There is a home that we belong to, and we are not allowed to have it.
Yeah, because this book is from Lannery's perspective, and Lannery's all like, oh, Tython, the planet, is great. Mom and Dad live there.
Yeah, and part of Dale's plan is to destroy Typhon in order to open this hyperspace rift. Like,
because from Dale's perspective, he feels very confined. It's one system. You can't leave it. The idea is you will die because there is no hyperspace.
Yeah. So Lannery tries to save him, but eventually does just have to like give up on Dale in the end and give in to what will eventually become sort of the dogmatic teachings of the Jedi. Like, yeah, it's
interesting to watch.
Yeah. It's why it's kind of why I always love that line when Obi-Wan says to Anakin in Revenge of the Sith, he's like, only a Sith deals in absolute, and it's like, sure, people can make fun of it because it's like, that's an absolute, Obi-Wan, what the fuck are you saying? But it's Obi-Wan being a hypocrite like the Jedi always are, and it is that dogmatic principle, that belief in absolutes that eventually destroys the Jedi in the end, and is present from the very beginning, essentially.
Yeah, apparently it's a really long-held kind of belief.
Yeah.
The teachings may change, but the dogmatic belief in those beliefs, they're the same, apparently.
Yeah. And so we have like Dan Powell as like our sort of like head Jedi here, sort of like giving Lannery orders. The second that we find out that Dale plans to destroy Tython, it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, your brother means nothing. Fucking kill him. He's done. He's off the board.
There is. Like, when they're at the climax of this book, Tython as a planet has some really bad vibes going on. There is, like, force storms. Shit's happening. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And Dan Powell's like, I think this is Dale. Please just kill him.
Yeah, seriously. And, like, Lannery struggles with that. But honestly, not for that long. Like, I don't know, man. I don't think it took that long for her to realize that she had to kill this guy. Or think she has to kill this guy.
Yeah, think, like, like the conclusion that Dale probably should die was pretty easily reached, especially after Tree is shot.
Yes, and... Okay, sorry. I want to make sure that I read this all right. Like, they basically say Tree is dead, and then by the end they're like, oh, we're going to save Tree at the end.
I read that too as Tree was shot.
Tree was shot in the fucking head, and they're like, cool, Tree is dead. They say it in the narration. In the prose, Tim Levin writes, Tree is dead. And then at the end of the book, they're like, we're going to fix Tree's head wound. I'm like, how? How, guys?
Yeah, like, it totally...
you gotta help me out
it reads very literally that Tree is shot and very much killed.
Yeah.
But Tree's fine, I guess.
Apparently.
When to me, that's like the ultimate breaking point for Lannery as a character.
Yeah.
Because Tree's really the only other person she's properly opened up to that isn't part of the Jedi Order.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, Lannery chooses to kill Dale. And would it really be a Star Wars story about a fucked up family dynamic if a right arm didn't get cut off? I couldn't believe it. I wrote down a note. I was like, wow, Dale's right arm got cut off. Are you fucking kidding me?
I didn't even clock that.
He got his right arm cut off. I mean, come on. That's just how you do a Star War, apparently. I mean, it's interesting because all the legends we've read on the show up to this point has been, an amorphous time between original trilogy and prequel trilogy coming out. So it was like, we were like a slave to these tropes. But then Anakin gets his arm chopped off twice throughout the prequel trilogy.
God, you're right.
And then, actually, no, hang on. So we have Luke's arm in Empire. We have Vader's right arm in Return of the Jedi. We have Anakin's right arm in Attack of the Clones. And then Anakin's left arm in Revenge of the Sith. So... A lot of limbs.
A lot of limbs.
And
the same one twice.
Yeah, and this is how we kill Dale Brock. And Lannery it is implied by the end, like, kind of has to go back to Tython and like sort of like grapple with the decisions she made. But like, I don't know, man.
She doesn't seem all that broken.
This bitch is dedicated. I don't know, man. I think she's a lost cause. Yeah, but that's that. Of course, we also say there is the short story included Eruption, which is a pre this book story. It's about Lannery.
It's if anything else, it sets up what she was doing right before she got the call to come do this.
I'm sure there's some comic tie-ins based on the short story somewhere. Like if we read that along with the comics or something, there'd be something more to glean out of that. But otherwise, it's just extra Lannery content.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah, she's an okay protagonist.
I like Lannery enough.
She's an okay protagonist. I like her well enough. But once again, it's that idea of like, how much can you truly love a character that believes in these ideals wholeheartedly? I love Plo Koon, but he's a stalwart Jedi through and through.
God, yeah.
And he, at the end of the day, he's not trying to like do the right thing and save anyone in the end. Like he is still a slave to that order. I love Kit Fisto, same shit. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's a fun idea to grapple with that we've talked about a great many times on this show. And God, there are no easy answers.
And it is the reason we're doing this, because all we do is talk about this.
Yeah. And that's Dawn of the Jedi Into the Void. Unless you had any other final comments, anything we didn't talk about so far.
Not really. I think all I would have added is part of that darkness that I mentioned that Dan Powell thinks is totally due to Dale is that comic thing I mentioned.
Yeah.
The shortest possible version is there's a ship that crashes on Tython. And I was like, that's got to be in the comics. And it was.
Yeah.
It's how issue number 2 or 3 begins.
Okay.
And I was like, that's got to be a comic tie. I was right.
Gotcha. Well, hey, we want to read the comics someday. Either subscribe to the Patreon or just send us a copy of Tales of the Jedi Volume 1, and we will read that. We will read that. Be nice to us and give us a $200 book. That'd be greatly appreciated. Or just subscribe to the Patreon, and I don't know, if you get join the $5 tier and you stay at that tier for a solid 30 months. We'll be set. We
could eventually get there.
We'll get there. All right. Thank you all so much for watching. What do we do next time? We're doing comics. We're going back to comics. We're going to do a couple episodes in a row of comics. We're going back to the Jason Aaron Star Wars stuff and the Kieran Gillen Darth Vader stuff. We're going to be doing some of those back and forth for a while, and I'm very much looking forward to those.
Same here.
Yeah. Afterwards, we have some potentially fun video game plans.
Yeah, maybe.
So, yeah. Time permitting, of course. So, in the meantime, as I've mentioned multiple times already, check out the Patreon. You can. There are 3 tiers. There's the Cadet tier, which simply gets your name in the description of every Blood Donut video that we put out. You just get acknowledged, and your support is greatly appreciated, of course. There's the $2 Ensign tier, which will get you our early our Star Trek reviews that we put out weekly or a week early. You can also go to the Lieutenant tier. It's $5 a month. You get all kinds of fun things there. You get extra Star Trek commentaries. You get extra fresh-faced extras. Fresh Face Extras is the name of the thing. It's more of the comic podcast that me and Jacob Licklider do. Not this Jacob. This is Jacob Morgan.
Yes.
But you can get all kinds of fun things over there. And seriously, every dollar counts. So thank you all so much. Check out our link trees. Our socials and everything will be in the description below. You can follow us wherever you want to follow us. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, Blood Donut Studios. Any support means the world to us. Until next time, this has been Joey Morgan.
I'm Jacob.
Goodbye.